The night sky was black, filled with heavy clouds. Snow fell without mercy, carried by a violent wind. The land was nothing but ice and sharp rocks. This was no safe place for life. This was a frozen world, ruled by storms that never stopped. In the middle of this deadly storm, a tall figure walked ahead. His body was covered in shining armor, his head high as if the storm was nothing to him. He was the alien king. His steps were strong, his eyes cold. Behind him, struggling to walk, was his wife. She held 2 small children close to her chest. Her body shook from the cold. Her lips were blue, her breath weak. "Please," the wife cried, her voice breaking against the howl of the wind. "Do not leave us here. The children will die." The king stopped for a moment. His red eyes turned back. He looked at her, but his face showed no care, no love. His crown glowed faintly under the storm, a cruel light in the darkness. "You are weak," he said. His voice was calm, like ice. "Only the strong survive. This storm will decide your fate." The wife fell to her knees, the children clinging to her arms. The older child, barely 6 years old, tried to stand in front of his mother, his small hands shaking. "Father, please," he whispered. But his voice was lost in the storm. The alien king turned away. He walked forward, step by step, never looking back again. His figure disappeared into the snow, swallowed by the storm's white curtain. The wife screamed, but the wind carried her voice away. She tried to chase him, but her legs gave up. She collapsed in the snow, holding her children tightly. The storm grew stronger. The cold bit their skin like knives. Snowflakes cut across their faces. The younger child, a small girl, began to cry. Her tears froze before they could fall. The mother pulled both children close, wrapping her arms around them. She tried to use her body to block the wind, but she was only flesh against a world of ice. Her heart pounded with fear. She knew the truth. If no one helped them, the storm would take their lives. "Stay awake," she whispered into her children's ears. Her voice shook. "Do not close your eyes. Listen to me. We must fight." The boy nodded, his lips trembling. He wanted to be brave, but his body was so weak. His sister pressed her face into her mother's chest, trying to hide from the wind. Time passed slowly. Every second felt like an hour. The snow covered their bodies little by little, as if the earth itself wanted to bury them. The mother's mind was filled with questions. Why did the king do this? How could a father abandon his own blood? She remembered the early days when he had promised her a life of power and safety. But now, in the heart of the storm, those promises were nothing but lies. Her anger grew, but anger did not make her stronger. Her body was losing the battle. She pressed her forehead against the boy's, her tears freezing on her skin. "Forgive me," she whispered. "If this is our end, forgive me." The storm roared louder, as if laughing at their suffering. The land was silent, no sound but the endless wind. Still, deep inside the boy's chest, a small flame of hope burned. His father had left, but maybe someone else would come. Maybe the world still had mercy left. He looked up at the dark sky, his eyes wide, searching for anything. A light, a shadow, a miracle. But the sky gave him nothing. Only more snow, more cold. The mother tried to stand again. Her body was weak, her legs trembling, but she refused to give up. She wrapped one arm around her son and carried her daughter in the other. Step by step, she pushed forward through the snow. Her feet sank deep, her breath came out in gasps. Just a little more, she told herself. "I must keep moving. If I stop, we die." The boy tried to help, holding her arm, pushing against the wind with all his small strength. The girl cried softly, her voice almost gone. The storm did not stop. The snow grew heavier, the air colder. The mother's vision blurred, darkness pushing at the edges of her sight. Still she moved. Still she fought. Behind them, the footprints of the alien king were already gone, erased by the storm. It was as if he had never been there at all. The wife knew the truth now. He would not return. They had been left to die. Her heart broke, but at the same time it hardened. She looked at her children. They were her life, her blood, her reason. Even if the king abandoned them, she would not. She would fight until her last breath. The snow howled around them, a monster without form, but the mother whispered again and again, "Stay awake. Stay alive. We will not die here." The children listened. The boy held his sister close, and the girl held her mother's hand tight. In the distance, the storm swallowed the world, endless and cruel. And yet, in the center of that frozen darkness, a fragile family fought to survive. Abandoned, but not broken. The betrayal of the king was complete. But the story was only beginning. The storm did not end. Hour after hour, the snow fell harder. The wind screamed louder. It was as if the sky itself wanted to bury them alive. The mother held her children close, but her arms grew weaker with every passing moment. Her body shook uncontrollably. Her lips were pale, her skin white like the snow. She was losing the fight against the cold. The little boy pressed his cheek against her chest. His small body trembled, but his mind refused to give up. He whispered to his mother, his voice soft, "We must move. If we stop, the snow will eat us." His mother looked into his eyes. They were tired, but inside them was courage. Courage too big for his young age. She nodded slowly. "Yes, we move. One step at a time. One step." She pulled herself up, carrying her daughter in her arms. The boy held her hand tightly. Together they began walking into the storm, though they did not know where the path would lead. Every step was a battle. The snow was deep, pulling their legs down. The wind pushed against them, trying to knock them over. The mother's feet were bleeding, but the pain did not matter anymore. She only thought of her children. "Stay awake," she repeated again and again like a prayer. "Stay awake. Do not close your eyes." The little girl, half asleep in her mother's arms, opened her eyes weakly. "Mama, I'm so tired," she whispered. The mother kissed her frozen forehead. "No, my star. Do not sleep. Sleep is death. You must fight." Her voice was strong, though her body was breaking. The boy looked around, searching through the storm, but all he saw was white, endless white. Snow on the ground, snow in the air, snow falling from the sky. It felt like a trap with no escape. He clenched his small fists. "We will not die here," he said to himself. He tried to believe it, even if his voice shook. Minutes turned into hours. The storm never stopped. The mother's legs became heavy, her breath short. Her body begged her to fall, to rest, to give up. But each time she almost collapsed, she thought of her children. Their faces gave her the strength to take another step. At last, her knees buckled. She fell to the ground, her daughter slipping from her arms. The boy cried out, "Mother!" He tried to lift his sister, but he was too small. The mother forced herself to rise again, though pain screamed through her body. She picked up her daughter once more, her hands numb and stiff. She looked at her son. His face was red from the cold, but his eyes burned with determination. "We must find shelter," she whispered. Her voice was broken, but her words carried hope. The boy nodded. "I will help you." Together they searched. Through the snow they saw shadows of rocks, frozen trees, strange alien shapes half buried in the white. They looked for any place to hide, any place to escape the storm's rage. Finally they found a small cave hidden between jagged stones. The entrance was narrow, but inside it was dark and silent, away from the wind. The mother crawled inside, dragging her children with her. It was not warm, but at least the storm could not touch them here. She laid her daughter down gently, then held both children close. For the first time in hours, she let herself breathe, but the struggle was not over. Inside the cave, the air was cold, and their bodies were already weak. Without food, without fire, survival was still uncertain. The boy curled beside his mother, his small hands shaking. "Will father come back?" he asked. His voice was quiet, almost afraid of the answer. The mother looked at him, her heart breaking. She wanted to protect him with lies, to say the king would return. But she could not. She could not tell her children false hope. "No," she said softly. "He will not come. He has chosen his throne over us." The boy's eyes filled with tears, but he did not cry aloud. He only pressed closer to his mother, holding his sister's hand tightly. The mother wrapped her arms around both of them. "Then we will fight without him," she whispered. "We will fight together." Outside, the storm screamed like a monster, but inside the cave, a fragile warmth grew. Not from fire, not from blankets, but from the bond between a mother and her children. Hours passed. The mother sang softly, her voice weak but steady to keep her children awake. "Do not sleep. Stay with me." The boy whispered stories to his sister, stories of sunlight and warmth, even though he had never seen such things. He spoke of green fields and golden skies, dreams born from imagination. Slowly, the girl's eyes stayed open. She listened to her brother's stories and her mother's songs. For a moment, the storm outside did not exist. But deep in the mother's heart, fear still lived. She knew they could not survive in the cave for long. They needed help, a miracle, something beyond their own strength. She closed her eyes for a moment and prayed. Not to the king, not to the cruel gods of their world, but to anyone who could hear. "Please," she whispered into the darkness. "Please save my children." The storm outside raged on. The snow fell without end. But in the small cave, 3 fragile lives held each other close, refusing to give up. And somewhere beyond the storm, unknown to them, destiny had already started to move. The king had abandoned them. But the universe had not. The struggle for survival was only the beginning. The storm had swallowed the night. For hours the snow fell heavier and the wind screamed like a beast without end. The cave gave a little protection, but inside it was still cold and dark. The mother sat with her children pressed against her chest, her body shaking from weakness. Her daughter's eyes were half closed, her breath shallow. The boy held her hand, whispering stories to keep her awake, but even his voice was fading. He looked at his mother. Her face was pale, her lips cracked, her strength almost gone. He thought, if we stay here, the cave will become our grave. The boy stood up, though his legs trembled. He looked toward the mouth of the cave. Snow still swirled outside, wild and endless, but in his heart he felt a strange push, something telling him not to give up yet. "Where are you going?" the mother asked weakly. The boy turned to her. "I will look. Maybe someone is out there. Maybe something." The mother wanted to stop him. The storm could swallow him in seconds. But her lips did not form the words. Deep inside, she knew his spirit was stronger than hers at this moment. She nodded slowly. "Stay close. Do not go too far." The boy stepped outside. The cold struck him like knives. He covered his face with his small arm and pushed forward, step by step, his eyes searching through the white storm. At first there was nothing. Only darkness, wind, and snow. His heart sank. He almost turned back. But then, a faint glow appeared far away like a star in the night. His eyes widened. He blinked, afraid it was only his imagination. But the light remained, flickering, moving through the storm. The boy's heart raced. "Mother, there is light. Someone is out there." The mother pulled herself to the cave's entrance, her daughter in her arms. She saw it too, a weak golden glow cutting through the white. Her breath caught in her throat. Could it be real? Or was it the last trick of her dying mind? The light grew brighter. And then, through the storm, a shape appeared. A machine, metallic, strong, hovering above the ground. A human craft. Its engines hummed, its lamps glowing like suns in the storm. The mother gasped. Humans were strangers to their world. Enemies, some said. Weak creatures, others claimed. But in this moment, the craft was no enemy. It was hope. The machine landed near the cave, its metal legs sinking into the snow. The door opened with a hiss and a figure stepped out. Wrapped in thick gear, the figure carried a glowing device in one hand. The storm bent around him, but he walked forward with calm strength. It was a human. A medic, the boy stared in shock. His small voice broke through the storm. "Please help us." The human stopped. His eyes fell on the sight before him. A woman, alien but fragile, holding 2 children who were half frozen, near death. For a second, he did not move. His training told him to be careful. His mission was not here. These were not his people. But then he looked into the children's eyes. Their fear, their innocence, their silent cry for life. The medic's chest tightened. He could not walk away. He rushed forward, dropping to his knees. He pulled blankets from his pack, wrapping the children quickly. His hands moved fast, checking their breaths, their heartbeats. "Too cold," he muttered. "Hypothermia." But still alive, the mother's lips trembled. She looked at him with disbelief. Why are you helping us?" "We are not your kind." The medic met her eyes. His voice was simple, steady. "Because life is life. No one deserves to die in the snow." He lifted the boy first, wrapping him tightly. Then he carefully picked up the girl, placing a small heating device near her chest. The mother tried to stand, but her legs gave out. The medic caught her before she fell. "You are too weak," he said firmly. "I will take all of you." The storm howled louder, as if angry at his defiance. Snow whipped against them, trying to bury them once more. But the medic stood tall, carrying both children while supporting the mother with his arm. Step by step, he pushed back to his craft. The door slid open and warmth spilled out. The children's eyes fluttered as they felt heat for the first time in hours. Inside the craft, the medic laid them on a padded bed. Machines beeped softly. He placed oxygen masks on their faces. injected small doses of medicine into their arms and wrapped them in thermal sheets. The mother collapsed against the wall, her eyes full of tears. She watched as the medic worked, his hands precise, his eyes filled with determination. She whispered, You are saving us." The medic did not stop moving. "Don't speak. Save your strength." Minutes passed. Slowly, color began to return to the children's faces. The girl's breathing steadied. The boy opened his eyes, looking at the medic. "Are we safe now?" The medic gave a small smile. "For now, yes. You are safe." The mother's tears fell freely. She looked at her children, then at the stranger. A human, someone she had been told was weak, was the one who gave them life again. She whispered into the quiet room, almost to herself. "The king abandoned us. But the storm did not kill us, and you came." The medic glanced at her, his expression unreadable. "I came because it was right. Nothing more." Outside, the storm still raged. The world was still cruel, but inside the small craft, a fragile flame of hope burned. For the first time since the betrayal, the mother and her children were not alone, and yet, as the medic adjusted the machines and checked the children's vitals, a shadow crossed his mind. He knew this act of kindness would not go unnoticed. Somewhere out there, the king would learn that his family had survived, and when he came back, the real storm would begin. Inside the human craft, the storm outside could only be heard as a dull roar. The walls shook from the wind, but inside there was warmth, light, and the steady sound of medical machines. The medic moved quickly, adjusting blankets, checking heartbeats, placing heated pads on the children's fragile bodies. His eyes, sharp and focused, showed no fear. He had seen many lives on the edge of death before, but something about these two small aliens touched him in a way he could not explain. The boy stirred first. His eyelids fluttered open and he looked around in confusion. His small voice cracked. "Where are we?" The medic knelt beside him. "Safe, you are inside my ship. Rest now." The boy looked at his sister, who lay beside him, her breathing slow but steady. Then his eyes turned to his mother, who sat against the wall, too weak to stand but still watching them with fierce love. Relief filled his heart. The mother raised her trembling hand toward the medic. Her voice was soft, but her words cut through the silence. Why save us? We are not human. We are nothing to you." The medic hesitated. For a moment he looked down, unsure what to say. Then he answered simply, "Because leaving you out there would make me no better than the storm." The mother lowered her head, tears falling. She remembered the king's cold eyes, his cruel words, the way he had turned his back. And now this human, a stranger from another world, had done what her own husband refused to do. The boy sat up, weak but determined. He looked at the medic. "Will you take us with you? If we go back outside, we will die." The medic pressed his lips together. He had thought of this already. Saving them was one choice. Keeping them alive was another. If he took them, his people might question him. Humans and aliens were not allies. He could be punished for breaking orders, for helping those marked as enemies. But when he looked into the boy's eyes, wide, desperate, filled with hope, he knew the answer in his heart. "Yes," he said firmly. "I will not leave you." The mother gasped, her voice filled with both gratitude and fear. "If you take us, you risk everything." "Why would you?" The medic stood, his figure straight, his voice calm. "Because it is the right thing, and because your children deserve a future." Outside, the storm struck harder, as if angry at his decision. The craft shook, the engines humming. But inside, something stronger than the storm was born. Trust. The medic handed the boy a cup of warm liquid. The boy held it carefully, sipping slowly, feeling warmth spread through his chest. His sister woke soon after, her eyes fluttering open. She saw the medic and whispered faintly, "Are you an angel?" The medic smiled for the first time. "No, little one, just a man who wants to help." The girl smiled weakly before closing her eyes again, this time in peaceful rest. The mother watched silently. She had no words. In her world, strength was measured by power, by cruelty, by how much you could take. But here, in the hands of a human, she saw a new kind of strength. Kindness. Yet even in that moment of safety, fear lingered. She knew the king, she knew his pride. If he learned they had survived, if he discovered a human had saved them, his wrath would be unstoppable. The medic seemed to sense her thoughts. He sat beside her, his voice low but steady. "He left you to die?" That makes him your enemy, not me. Do not fear him. But the mother shook her head. You do not understand. He is no ordinary man. He is a king. His power is great. If he comes for us, even your machines may not stop him. The medic did not answer right away. He looked at the children sleeping now, safe for the first time in days. His mind was clear. He could run. He could leave them. It would be easier. It would be safer, but his heart refused. He remembered the moment he saw them in the snow. The tiny hands, the frozen faces, the mother's desperate eyes. If he left now, he would carry that guilt forever. His choice was already made. He turned back to the mother. His voice was strong. Then let him come. If he wants to harm you, he will face me first. The mother stared at him, shocked. This man, a stranger, a human, was willing to stand against a king for her children. Her chest filled with something she had not felt in years. Hope. For the first time since the storm began, she allowed herself to believe they might survive. The boy, half asleep, heard the medic's words. He whispered softly, his lips barely moving. You are braver than father. The medic looked down at him and his heart tightened. He placed a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder. Bravery is not about leaving people behind. It is about staying even when it is hard. Outside, the storm continued to roar. But inside the craft, the real storm had already been faced. The medic had made his choice. He would protect them, whatever it cost. The storm outside had not ended, but inside the human craft, silence ruled. The faint hum of machines, the soft beep of monitors, and the slow breathing of two small children filled the space. Warmth had returned to their bodies, but life was still fragile, balanced like a candle flame in the wind. The medic stood over them, his eyes sharp and steady. Every movement of his hands was careful. He checked their pulses, adjusted the oxygen flow, and placed small glowing patches on their skin. The patches released warmth deep into their blood, fighting the ice that still lingered in their veins. The mother watched him with tired eyes. She sat propped against the wall, her body too weak to move, but her heart wide awake. She could not look away from her children. She studied every breath, every flicker of their eyelids, every rise and fall of their chests. They are stronger now, the medic said quietly, not looking at her. But it will take time. Their bodies are small and the cold was deep inside them. The mother swallowed hard. Her voice trembled. And me, will I survive? The medic finally looked at her. Yes, but you must rest. Your body is almost empty. No food, no warmth, no strength. You kept them alive with your own life. Now you must let me carry the weight. Her lips parted, but no words came. She wanted to thank him, but her throat was too tight with emotion. The boy stirred. His eyelids fluttered and his gaze settled on the medic. You saved us again? He whispered weakly. The medic smiled faintly. I am trying. The boy's hand reached for his mother's, gripping it tightly. We will not die now, right? The medic placed a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder. Not while I am here. For the first time since the betrayal, the boy allowed himself to close his eyes, not from exhaustion, but from trust. His breathing grew calm, steady, safe. The little girl woke next. Her eyes were wide, innocent, still glazed with weakness. She looked at the medic's face with quiet wonder. You are not like father, she whispered. The medic's chest tightened. He had no answer for her. He only brushed a strand of her hair back and whispered, Sleep, little one. Let your body heal. The girl obeyed, drifting back into gentle dreams. Hours passed. The medic worked tirelessly. He prepared small packs of nutrient fluid and gave them to the mother, who drank slowly, regaining a little strength. He cleaned their wounds, massaged their stiff fingers and toes, and adjusted the blankets again and again. He did not allow the cold to steal them back. At last the mother spoke, her voice low but steady. You risk everything for us, why? The medic paused, his hand still on the boy's arm. He looked at her carefully as if searching for the right words. Because I have seen too much death, too many bodies left behind. I cannot watch children die when I have the power to stop it. The mother lowered her eyes. My king, my husband. He had power, but he chose death for us. Her voice broke and tears slid down her cheeks. Why is it that a stranger shows more mercy than the father of my children? The medic did not answer. He only reached for a cloth and gently wiped her tears. His touch was steady, respectful. Do not waste your strength on him, he said quietly. You are alive. That is what matters now. Silence settled between them. The storm outside raged on, but inside the craft, there was warmth, not just from machines, but from something deeper. The boy coughed softly, and the medic rushed to his side, placing a hand on his chest, listening carefully. Relief spread across his face. "His lungs are clearing," he said. "He is fighting back." The mother's lips curved into a weak smile. "He has always been strong. Stronger than his father believes." The medic adjusted the machines again, then sat back for a moment. His eyes lingered on the children, then shifted to the mother. She was fragile, but her spirit burned bright. He respected her more than he could say. Suddenly, the craft shook violently. The medic's head snapped up. Outside, the storm's winds had grown even more violent. Ice pelted against the hull like stones. He stood quickly, checking the systems. The mother's eyes widened. "What is happening?" "Just the storm," he said calmly, though his heart was not calm. "This ship is strong. It will hold." He returned to the children's side, his voice soft. "Do not fear. You are safe with me." The boy opened his eyes again, weak but clear. "You are our protector now," he whispered. The word struck the medic deeply. Protector. He had been many things in his life. Soldier, healer, wanderer, but never this. For the first time he realized that saving them was no longer just duty. It was personal. He placed his hand gently on the boy's head. "Then I will protect you. Always." The mother heard those words and closed her eyes. A tear slid down her cheek, but it was not a tear of sorrow. For the first time in so long, it was hope. The night dragged on, but the healing continued. Slowly, life returned to the children's faces. Their skin warmed, their breathing grew steady. The mother's strength returned drop by drop, and the medic, exhausted but unshaken, sat beside them, guarding them like a silent shield. The storm outside was endless. But inside, something stronger than any storm was growing. Trust, bond, and the first spark of a family. Yet far away, beyond the storm, a king had already heard whispers that his abandoned family still lived. And when he came searching, the true test of healing would begin, not of bodies, but of hearts. Far across the frozen kingdom, deep within black towers of stone, the alien king sat upon his throne. The hall was vast, lit by pale blue fire echoing with silence. Around him, armored guards stood still, their faces hidden behind masks. The king's eyes burned like coals. He had thought the storm would finish what he had started, that his weak wife and children would be buried under ice, forgotten by time. But whispers had reached him. Whispers that a human had found them. That they had not died but lived. His jaw clenched. His pride, sharper than any blade, burned in rage. "They survive," he muttered, his voice low and dangerous. "They survive because of a stranger, because of a human." One of his generals stepped forward, bowing low. "My king, the rumors may not be true." The king's voice cut like thunder. "Do you doubt me? Do you doubt the word that spreads through the villages?" They saw a craft, a human craft shining through the snow. "My blood still lives, and worse, lives in the hands of an enemy." The hall trembled with his fury. The guards did not speak. None dared to move. The king rose from his throne, his armor shining in the cold firelight. His tall frame cast a shadow that stretched across the hall like a beast. "If they live, they are no longer mine. They are traitors, and the human who saved them. He has stolen what belongs to me." His words carried not sorrow, not regret, but only wounded pride. To him, his family was not flesh and love, they were possession. Something he had abandoned, yet still claimed as his own. "Prepare the soldiers," he ordered. "We march at dawn. I will see with my own eyes. If it is true, I will burn the human's craft to ash. I will take back what is mine, or I will end them all." Meanwhile, inside the human medic's small craft, the storm had begun to quiet. Snow still fell, but the wind was less fierce. The children slept peacefully, their bodies stronger than before. The mother sat awake, her eyes on the medic. "You know he will come," she said softly. The medic looked up from the console. He had been checking supplies, fuel, and routes. "Yes," he answered. His voice was calm, but inside he felt the weight of what was coming. A man like him cannot let go. Not of pride. Not of control. The mother lowered her gaze. "He will bring soldiers. His wrath is terrible. You do not know what he is capable of." The medic crossed the room, kneeling in front of her. His eyes met hers, steady and unshaken. "I have seen terrible things too. But I will not abandon you, not now, not ever." Her breath caught. His words were simple, but they carried a strength she had never known before. The boy stirred, half awake, listening to them. His small voice whispered, "Father, he will hurt you." The medic placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Then let him try. Sometimes the strongest are not those with crowns, but those who choose to protect." The boy's eyes shone, and he smiled weakly before drifting back into sleep. Dawn came. The sky turned gray, heavy with clouds, and the land lay quiet under a blanket of white. But in the distance, a sound began to rise. The march of soldiers, the clank of armor, the growl of alien beasts pulling heavy sleds. The king had come. The medic stood at the window watching the horizon. Black shapes moved against the snow, hundreds of them. At the center, tall and proud, rode the king. His crown glowed faintly, a cruel fire against the pale land. The mother stood behind the medic, her face pale. "He will kill you," she whispered. The medic's jaw tightened. "Not if I stand between him and you." The children clung to their mother, fear wide in their eyes. The sound of the army grew louder, closer, until the earth seemed to shake beneath them. The medic checked his weapons. A rifle, a knife, a few grenades. Not nearly enough against an army. But he did not waver. The mother touched his arm. "You do not have to do this. You could leave us. Save yourself." The medic turned to her, his voice firm. "I did not save you to abandon you. I made my choice. I stand with you." Her eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. She understood now. This human strength was not in power or armies. It was in loyalty, in compassion, in courage that did not bend. The king's army surrounded the craft. The wind carried the sound of their chants, low and cruel. Then silence. The king stepped forward, his eyes glowing red as they locked onto the medic. The door of the craft opened. The medic stepped out, the snow crunching under his boots. He stood alone, facing the king and his army. The king's voice boomed. "Human, you dare to touch what is mine? You dare to keep what I left behind?" The medic's eyes did not flinch. "They are not yours. You abandoned them. They belong to themselves." The king's mouth twisted into a cruel smile. "Then you will die with them." The soldiers raised their weapons, the air heavy with tension. The medic stood tall, his hands ready but his heart steady. Behind him, inside the craft, the mother held her children close. Her lips trembled as she whispered to them, "Stay strong, stay brave." No matter what happens, the boy gripped her hand tightly. His eyes shone with courage like the medic's. The storm had calmed. But a new storm was about to begin, one not of nature but of pride, courage, and the clash between a heartless king and a human who had chosen to protect. The return of the king had come. And this time, only one truth would remain: who was stronger, pride or humanity? The frozen land was silent except for the steady sound of the alien king's army. Hundreds of soldiers stood in formation, their armor black against the snow. At the center, the king towered above them all, his crown glowing faintly like fire. His red eyes burned with anger and pride. Across from him stood the human medic, alone. His figure looked small against the endless army, but his stance was strong, unshaken. Behind him, inside the craft, the mother and her two children waited, their hearts pounding. The wind cut across the land. Snow swirled around them like 1,000 whispers. The moment felt heavy, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The king stepped forward. His voice boomed, echoing across the frozen plain. "Human, you dare to stand against me? You dare to steal what is mine?" The medic did not flinch. His voice was calm, steady. "They are not yours. You abandoned them in the storm. You left them to die." The king's smile was cruel. "I am their king, their blood is mine. My throne decides life and death. Who are you, weak human, to speak against me?" The medic's eyes narrowed. "I am no king, no ruler. Just a man. But I saved them when you turned away. That makes me more than you." The king's soldiers shifted uneasily. His words cut deep, even in the ears of those sworn to obey. The mother stepped forward then, standing at the door of the craft. Her legs shook, but her voice was sharp. "You left us, my king. You turned your back on your own blood. Look at your children. Do you see fear in their eyes? No, they see hope in this human. They see strength and kindness, not cruelty." The king's jaw tightened. "Silence, woman. You are mine to command." The mother lifted her chin, fire burning in her eyes. "No, I was yours once, but no longer. I will never follow a man who leaves his children to die." Her words struck like a blade. The soldiers looked at one another. Their loyalty wavered. For the first time, the king's throne seemed less eternal. The boy stepped out next, standing beside the medic. His small voice rose above the wind. "Father, you are not our king. This man is." The king's red eyes flared with rage. "A child dares to defy me?" But the soldiers did not move. The king's command carried less power now. His own family's voices weakened the chains of fear. The medic placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. He stepped forward, his eyes locked with the king's. "This ends now. You want me? Then face me." "Not them," the king roared, pulling his blade from its sheath. The weapon glowed with deadly light, sharp enough to cut through stone. "Then you will die, human." The medic raised his rifle. The world seemed to stop. Snowflakes hung in the air. The clash between pride and humanity had begun. The king charged. His blade cut through the air with terrifying speed. The medic fired, the sound of the shot echoing like thunder. The bullet struck the king's armor, but the metal held. The king swung his blade, the medic barely dodging, the ground shaking with every strike. The soldiers watched, frozen, unsure who to follow. The medic fought with all his strength. His movements were quick, his heart steady, but the king was strong, larger, fueled by fury. Sparks flew as blade met steel. Snow melted where energy struck the ground. At last, the king raised his weapon high, ready to crush the human. But before he could strike, a voice pierced the battlefield. "Stop!" The mother stood tall, her arms wrapped protectively around her children. Her voice carried more power than the storm. "If you kill him, you kill us too. Because we will never return to you. We will die at his side before we live under your cruelty again." The king froze. His blade trembled in his hand. His soldiers looked at her, then at the medic, then back at their king. For the first time, doubt filled their eyes. The boy shouted, his voice breaking but strong. "He saved us."
"You left us!"
Who is the true king? Silence fell. The question hung in the air like thunder. The king's face twisted in rage. He roared and raised his weapon again, but the soldiers did not move with him. Instead, they lowered their weapons. Some even stepped back. The chain of fear had broken. The medic stood tall, his rifle steady, but he did not fire. His voice was quiet, almost calm. "You have already lost, not to me. To your own pride." The king looked around. His army no longer obeyed. His wife's eyes burned with defiance. His children held the hand of a human, not him. For the first time, he looked small. The blade slipped from his fingers, falling into the snow with a dull thud. His crown dimmed. Without another word, the king turned and walked away into the storm. Alone. The soldiers did not follow. They stayed, heads bowed, some kneeling in respect, not to him but to the ones who had spoken the truth. The medic lowered his weapon. He turned back to the mother and children. The boy rushed into his arms, the girl clung to his side. The mother's eyes filled with tears, but they were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of freedom. For the first time, they were no longer prisoners of a crown. The medic's voice was soft, almost a whisper. "It's over." The mother shook her head gently. "No, it is only the beginning. A new life. A new future." The storm howled in the distance, but inside their hearts the sun had already risen, and as the family stood together, one truth shone brighter than any crown. Humanity had won.